Okay, we pick it up here. This is not a drill in a hypothetical pandemic, and it comes out of the Wheeler Center in Melbourne, Australia, and supposedly they're presenting a hypothetical case of a pandemic virus, and this is being filmed and presented in the year 2018, long before the so-called pandemic that we're in. So it's preparing the population for what's forthcoming, futuristic programming of the mind. All right, so these are supposedly experts who are responding to questions about a hypothetical situation.
From colleagues in Guangdong, yeah.
So what do they tell you? I mean, they give you as much information as they can, which at this point is influenza-like symptoms, and obviously a lot of these patients have both been very ill and also there's a death rate. We have 4 dead and 30 cases in this particular 2 clusters.
So what you described just now with the cluster of infection and also healthcare workers being infected is something that we would always take very seriously. Of course, it could be a run-of-the-mill influenza outbreak, but 2 or 3 dead, as you mentioned, makes it a bit surprising. So I think we would certainly take that seriously, and we have a very close collaboration with lab in Guangzhou, the state key lab for respiratory diseases, who are the sort of reference center for severe respiratory infections. So I would certainly contact them and find out what's going on, and if necessary, have them send people to investigate this outbreak.
Do you try and get a sample of this virus at this point?
So obviously the individual hospitals in China are quite independent. The statutory requirements would be, in the case of an outbreak, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control in Guangdong province, would have the responsibility to investigate that. So they would have the primary responsibility to go and look into that. We also have close connections with them, so we would also reach out to them to find out what's going on.
Kante, in Melbourne, you run one of only 6 WHO influenza collaboration centres in the world. How much do you know about this virus at the moment, and has the WHO managed to get its hands on a sample?
So we would rely on information that comes through either one of the collaborating centres. We're, as you said, one of 6. The others are in Beijing, in Tokyo, in London, Atlanta, and one for animal influenza in Memphis in the US. So we would first try to find out if anybody has received any information about this outbreak. And informally, we might reach out to Malik, who we know well, and we know that he's well connected. So we would make some inquiries.
Did you see her smiling? She's having a hard time holding back that duping delight.
On the side to see whether they're informally as well as the formal notifications.
So, Malik, you do manage to get a sample of this, at least into the laboratory in southern China that you have connections to, and very quickly you work out that this virus doesn't match any of the known subtypes of influenza. What happens then?
Yeah, so if it is not one of the seasonal H1H3 subtypes, and it's an influenza A virus, then by definition that constitutes an emergency. So that virus really needs to be fully characterized as soon as possible, 24/7.
And what does that mean?
So that means, on the one hand, trying to culture the virus, grow it. On the other hand, trying to sequence the virus directly from the clinical specimen, and once you grow the virus, then you would sequence it from the culture as well.
So that's like the virus blueprint, if you like. If you can sequence this virus, you can work out exactly what it is.
Yeah, so that's the genetic information in the virus that would tell us the nature of the virus, whether it is H, X, N.
Come on, you got some more BS in you.
Y, or whatever it is. And also, it would also tell us a number of other things, possibly tell us a number of other things about potential resistance to antivirals that we have, such as oseltamivir, zanamivir, sometimes markers of transmissibility in humans, and also sometimes markers of virulence. So there's a lot of information that we can get from the sequence. But at the end of the day, we really need the virus itself to characterize it biologically as well as genetically.
But I guess, Kante, if the virus is sequenced in Beijing, that's good enough, isn't it? Does anyone else have to sequence it as well?
Yeah, the sequence. Wow, sounds pretty sophisticated, huh? Don't you wish you could virus sequence and understand these sequences? Don't you see the consequences?
Well, the sequence information is vital, and most of labs collaborate in a network where once the sequence is known, it's uploaded and shared widely.
Is China part of that network?
Absolutely. And so they have uploaded even these viruses that you're talking about, them not sharing the viruses. They're sharing the genetic sequence data. So that is very helpful. It's very informative. But as Malik said, we really need the virus in order to study the biology of the virus, to figure out in experimental animals whether it causes severe disease and whether it spreads. And ultimately, to make an influenza vaccine, it is very helpful to have.
Look at her face. There it is. And ultimately, to make a vaccine, the toxins that we're going to make. Look at the smile. Yes, there it is, people. If you're really talking about people, honest to gosh, dying, why does she have a smile on her face?
A virus isolate. So having the virus is also a big part of what we would try to go after.
So how do you rate your chances between the two of you? The WHO and Malik, your laboratories, do you think that within a week or so you've managed to get your hands on a virus?
Get your hands on a virus, yeah. They're supposed to be submicroscopic. Get your hands on a virus. Look at this one right here. We got some more duping delight. Look over here. They're doing pretty well holding back that duping delight. But it manifests itself every now and then.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yes, under these circumstances, I think so. And I think
see, they gotta laugh.
To extend from what Kante said. So if you do have the genetic sequence, nowadays you can actually synthesize the virus from the sequence. So we will be trying all these approaches at the same time. Yeah.
Well, indeed, by the end of September, this disease has been identified. It's a form of bird flu, and it's been officially called foul plague. That's foul with a W, but...
Ha! It's called foul play. That's right, it's foul play. Look at this. Look at this. On his face. That's a pretty big cheek there. Pretty big. I'd say that's a pretty big skull.
But you could, in fact, also use a U, because at that point that is a very accurate description. It's now travelled to Hong Kong, and there are also suspected cases in Hanoi.
It travels. I wonder how it traveled, you know? These viruses, they mutate, they jump, they travel. Wow, they're magical.
In Vietnam, thought to be connected to a Chinese tour group. The story is starting to make news headlines.
Let's get some more hypnotic inductions. Okay, I'm going to stop this right here and pick it up some more. Thank you for watching.